weird habit of showing my love for things by crossing them over with my favorite Roblox game, Arcane Odyssey. Today, the subject is the security breach shows, more specifically the Sun and Moon show and the Lunar and Earth show. Plus, there will be some characters from the Eclipse and Puppet show that I will, but mainly the first two. I'm not adding all the characters because this video would be too long, so it's mostly just characters that I like. If you have any characters you want to see in part 2, let me know and I'll do my best to add them, because I'm definitely gonna at least add one more part. Because, quick spoiler alert, I've got like a whole storyline with the Astrals in that universe, which I think is very, very cool. Alright, so, normally I would write the characters as if they were the protagonists of Arcane Odyssey, but this time I'm doing things a bit differently. They aren't all the protagonists in their own separate universes, they're in the same universe, simply because I want to actually make this an AU instead of simply, like, a hypothetical. Like, hey, if I were gonna do this, this is how. Now, some ground rules. Regardless of how long it takes to write this script and to actually record it and upload it, I'm starting it shortly after the Yuletide event ends, so we're only covering things up to the end of the Bronze Sea storyline, as the Nimbus Sea story isn't finished yet, obviously. Also, before I continue, this video will have spoilers for the following things: Arcane Odyssey, Sun and Moon show, Lunar and Earth show. Arcane Odyssey is a free-to-play Roblox game created by Vtex that I highly recommend checking out, and the shows I previously mentioned are free to watch on YouTube as well. They're very fun. This won't be very detailed with the stories, but it will still have some spoilers. As I've said before, I do plan on making this an actual fully fledged out AU at some point, so if you have any questions about the characters, go nuts and ask, because I will gladly yap for hours about these guys, okay? Links to everything will be in the description. Yeah, go support the people that made, like, the person that made Arcane Odyssey, and go support the people that make the Sun Moon show, Lunar Earth show, and Eclipse and Puppet show, because they are all very talented. Oh dear, there goes my dog. Okay, we're gonna ignore her. She's fine. Let's start with the person that has the displeasure of being the protagonist, Sun. Sun Ivanov is a young light mage who was abducted from his home on his 17th birthday, leading to varying reactions from his family. His brother Moon ran away only a week later in an attempt to find his brother. Moon is also a mage, wielding moonlight magic. Obviously. Sun had a third brother named Nexus. Nexus had run away when he was 16 for seemingly unknown reasons. Sun's older sister, Gaia, started trying to look for clues as to where Sun might have gone. She was also trying to get the ever-weakening relationship between her father and brother, Solar, back and strong again. Also, another important note that I had no other place to put was that the family lived in Frostville. Sun's father, Sven, was not a kind man. Their mother had recently broken things off with Sven after he found out that she had been cheating on him. He was quite neglectful towards the triplets, as far as he was aware, they were bastard children, and he didn't want to raise them, which left Gaia, only 12 at the time, their main caregiver. Solar was 8 at the time, watching the whole thing happen. He was born with no magic, and it wasn't hard to see Sven's disappointment when his middle son hadn't shown any signs of being a magic user by the age of 10. Solar, of course, more than made up for it with his weapon skills when he became an adult, but that didn't matter to Sven, being an iron magic user himself. Because according to him, you can only be successful if you're a magic user, and everyone else in that family had magic. Gaia, on the other hand, did have magic. She had earth magic. Shut up, I know it's uncreative, but mostly chose to use boxing if she got into fights. She tried to avoid them, but inevitably people started trying to fight her when she started making a name for herself. She would track down criminals and send the Grand Navy tips involving them of their whereabouts. When Gaia turned 18, Sven thought it was appropriate for him to leave the family for Ira, the woman he had children with over 3 years before Gaia's birth. Again, I have no idea where to put this information, but Ira is from Ravenna, specifically Rasna. The child's name was Rio Ivanov. He had no magic, and much to the horror of Sven, his new bride died shortly after giving birth to Rio. Rio had been placed under the care of his uncle and his uncle's husband, Harvey and Luke Taylor. Sven was never in Rio's life much until the boy turned 14 and was well known as a cunning and clever thief. Their home had been broken into, and in the fight that ensued, Harvey was kidnapped and Luke was murdered. Rio, who had snuck out to spend the night with his boyfriend, Milan Smith, returned home to find one of his uncles dead and the other nowhere to be found. Milan had let Rio stay with him, and the boys made a living stealing from Ravenna nobles and Bronze Legion soldiers alike. It was very risky, and the boys knew this, but being that they now lived in Deberia, they didn't have much of a choice. One day, when they were both 17, Milan was arrested by the Bronze Legion for seemingly no reason. Rio listened into whoever he could and eventually made Cosonia Aurelius. The two shared knowledge until the Bronze Legion caught them and threw them both in prison. Now, also born in Ravenna, this time two noble-born, were Eclipse and Lunar Medea. I made them Italian because, fun fact, Ravenna is a city in Italy, named such because they were born on a lunar eclipse. Unlike the other characters, up until this point, these two actually had loving parents. Until it turned out that said loving parents were willing to turn their youngest son, Lunar, over to a cult that would experiment on him in order to summon a great evil or something. I don't know what the Order's goal is. Eclipse told Lunar that he had to run away and never come back to this house or Rebecca, and Lunar obliged, as he had seen his parents get more tense around him. When questioned, Eclipse, who was 19 at the time, I forgot to mention that, played dumb and it worked. They didn't suspect a thing. Lunar got pretty lucky, as he was wandering the Shining Plains. He was questioning what the hell he was going to do now, as he was only 16 at this point, when a woman, around 29 at the time, approached him. I should change that to 19, otherwise the ages will be very odd in this. Yeah, I decided to change her age to 19. Actually, no, she's older than... Damn, how much older is she then? Okay, I'm gonna figure that out later. I'll put a number on screen. She was with a group of traveling merchants delivering goods from Frostmill to Ravenna. He immediately felt comforted by her presence and told her everything that had happened. Gaia was mortified that a child could be put in such a situation and offered to take him in. He was skeptical, of course, but it beat being homeless, and the woman seemed genuine and caring. He agreed, and Gaia went to talk to her captain. Once they arrived on Frostmill, Gaia brought Lunar inside to introduce him to her brother and nephew, and also her boyfriend, or partner. I kind of neglected to mention that Solar, now 25, had a kid of his own. He had adopted the little one, Jack, after finding him abandoned on his doorstep. Jack was only 10 now, 1 year younger than Lunar. Additionally, Gaia's partner, Montgomery Grant, was home babysitting Jack. Solar had gone out to his forge and thrown himself into his work, as he often had after Sun's disappearance. Our last character we will go over is Dazzle. She isn't Sun's adopted daughter in this AU, but is instead simply a child he started taking care of before his disappearance. Moon helped taking care of her, but she never got as attached to him as she did with Sun. Moon also didn't sugarcoat what happened. He didn't know how to without painting Sun in a negative light, and he really didn't want to do that to Dazzle. I think this video has gone on long enough, so I will most definitely make a part 2. Let me know in the comments which characters you would like to see in that, and be on the lookout for when I eventually make this into a full-fledged story. Thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.